The Vikings have a reputation for being some of the most ferocious warriors in history. They were famous for their raids, their ships, and their distinctive helmets. But did you know that many of the things you think you know about the Vikings are actually myths? In this video, we will be debunking 5 common myths about the Vikings. So grab your horned helmet and let's dive into the truth about the Vikings. The Vikings were a fascinating culture that existed from the late 8th to the 11th centuries. They hailed from Scandinavia and were known for their seafaring abilities, trade, and raids. They also left behind a rich legacy in art, literature, and mythology that continues to captivate people today. Myth 1. The Vikings were all raiders and pillagers. The Vikings' reputation as raiders and pillagers has overshadowed other aspects of their society. However, the Vikings were also skilled traders who engaged in long-distance trade with other societies. The Viking Age saw the establishment of a trading network that spanned from Russia to Constantinople and beyond. The Vikings traded furs, timber, iron, and slaves for luxury goods like silk, spices, and jewelry. They also established permanent settlements in places like Dublin, York, and Kiev, which served as centers of trade and commerce. Furthermore, the Vikings were not a monolithic group with a single unified goal. Different Viking groups had different motivations for raiding and pillaging. Some were driven by economic necessity, while others sought fame and glory. Some Viking groups even converted to Christianity and abandoned their raiding ways. Before we continue, we want to remind you to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future videos. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we release new content about history and much more. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. We love hearing from our viewers and we value your feedback. And now, back to our exploration of the truth behind the myths about the Vikings. Myth 2. The Vikings were a primitive society. The Vikings were skilled craftsmen who produced intricate and beautiful works of art. They worked in a variety of materials, including metal, wood, bone, and textiles. Viking art was highly stylized, featuring complex geometric patterns and intricate animal motifs. Examples of Viking art can be seen in museums around the world, including the British Museum and the National Museum of Denmark. The Vikings were also skilled shipbuilders who built some of the most advanced ships of their time. Viking longships were sleek and fast, allowing them to navigate both shallow rivers and the open sea. The Vikings used their ships for trade, exploration, and raiding, and their naval technology was a key factor in their success. In addition, the Vikings had a rich oral tradition that included epic sagas and poems. These stories were passed down from generation to generation and were an important part of Viking culture. The sagas often featured stories of heroism, adventure, and love, and they provided insights into Viking society and values. Myth 3. The Vikings were a homogeneous group. The Vikings were not a homogeneous group with a single unified culture. Rather, they were a diverse society made up of many different tribes and clans, each with their own customs and traditions. The Viking Age saw the emergence of different regional cultures, including the Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish cultures. These cultures shared many similarities, but also had their own unique characteristics. Furthermore, the Vikings were not a purely Scandinavian phenomenon. The Vikings established settlements and trading posts as far away as Greenland, Iceland, and North America, and they interacted with other cultures and civilizations along the way. This interaction led to the exchange of ideas, technologies, and cultural practices. Myth 4. The Vikings were constantly at war. While the Vikings were certainly capable warriors, they were not constantly at war. The Vikings were primarily farmers who lived peaceful lives. They only turned to raiding when their resources were scarce or they faced external threats. Furthermore, the Vikings were skilled diplomats who engaged in cultural exchange with other societies. The Viking Age saw the establishment of diplomatic ties between Scandinavia and other parts of Europe. For example, the Vikings were invited to serve as bodyguards for the Byzantine emperor, and they established trading relationships with the Islamic world. Myth 5. The Vikings wore clothes made of animal skins. The final myth we'll explore is the idea that the Vikings wore clothes made exclusively of animal skins. While animal skins were certainly used for clothing, the Vikings also had access to other materials such as wool and linen. In fact, Viking women were known for their skill in weaving and embroidery, and many examples of fine textiles have been found in Viking graves. The Vikings also had a wide range of clothing styles, from simple tunics to elaborate dresses and cloaks. Are you a history buff looking to expand your knowledge? Check out our videos or subscribe to our channel for regular history videos.